Hello, everybody. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Lech Lecha. And one of the things that happens, one of the many things that happens in this Torah reading, is a war between the kings. On the one side, you've got Kedar LaOmer. On the other side, you have the rebels of Sdom and Amorah. Now, this war is really about the grain markets. Kedar LaOmer's name literally means encircle the grain, the Omer. Now, the Omer is the amount of grain one person needs to eat in order to live for one day. It's kind of a generic ancient measurement of grain. So on the other side, we've got the rebels. We've got Sodom and we've got Amorah. And of course, Amorah comes from the exact same name, this idea of the Omer, the one-day period of grain. So these are rebel grain markets. They want to break free of the encirclement Kedar has provided, and everything is well organized. Kedar is making a huge fortune. He's a very powerful guy, and they rebel. So Kedar comes and he's going to go take out Sodom and Amorah, but on the way, he goes through and he takes out and does all sorts of damage to all sorts of third parties. Among these third parties is Amalek. He burns their fields, and Amalek goes from being a agricultural people to a people who are raiders and who are permanently on the move and in villages and etc. Anyway, so Kedar LaOmer eventually makes his way to Sodom and Amorah, and he grabs Avraham's nephew Lot, and Avraham goes special forces on him. He takes 300 guys in the middle of the night, he chases down Kedar LaOmer, he kicks him from here to high heaven, and he stops Kedar LaOmer's efforts cold. Now, of course, right afterwards, there's a famous passage where God says to Avraham, do not be afraid. And there's a question asked, why should Avraham be afraid? The war's over. He won. What's the issue? The way I see it, Avraham's fear is not a personal, physical fear. Avraham's fear is a much, much more fundamental fear. Avraham is afraid that he made the wrong decision. He was able to stop Kedar LaOmer. He was able to stop Kedar LaOmer before he did anything to Amalek or to anybody else. So Avraham's question is, did he do the right thing? And he's not the only one with that question. Amalek has that question as well. Amalek believes that Avraham didn't do the right thing. And so they zachar, their memory, their zocher, is maintained from generation to generation. Their memory of what Avraham did is maintained, and they maintain a hatred of Avraham and his descendants because of that. In fact, the other two peoples who are affected by this, the third parties, not Sodom and Amorah, are Og's people of Bashan and Sichod's people who the Jews go to war with, one of the first people they go to war with, near the end of the Chumash. So Avraham is a legitimate question. Did he do the right thing? Should he have intervened earlier? He had the ability to stop this. And in fact, Sichon's people, Og's people, and the Amalekites believe he did the wrong thing. God tells him not to be afraid. God tells him effectively, you did the right thing. You made the right choice. But this is a very challenging and very, very contemporary question. We have war all around us, and we have the power to intervene. We can send in armies, we can use high technology, we can use special forces, we can do all sorts of things to intervene in wars in which many third parties are being affected. But we don't. Or in some cases, we do. The question is are we making the right choices? Are we intervening at the right times? When should we be doing so? And the time to militarily intervene is in fact the time that Avraham did, when those who are close to us, those who are part of our families and our close relationships, are affected and are threatened. But of course, that approach comes with risks. If you only help then you have the ability to create enemies, and you also have the ability to have those people who are threatened be destroyed and suffer horribly because of it. So I think the lesson is perhaps a little more complex. It's not that we shouldn't intervene, it's that we don't intervene militarily. Military domination is something that doesn't actually fix problems. If it did, God could just impose the reality that he wants to see. Instead, we have to develop relationships and build them out, and we have to create a better reality, not through military force, but through other means. Of course, I do have a few ideas. My latest book, The City in the Heights, is about those ideas. It's about how we react and how we intervene and how we make these sorts of bad situations far, far better. It's a very modern approach to Avraham's issue, and I believe it might help us find a path out of what should be our greatest fear, the fear that we have stood by when we could have helped. Shabbat Shalom.